Hi, I'm going to record today's lesson and give you the instructions. So today's lesson is about society and living standards. So I'm just going to share the screen. Okay, so as you can see here, we've got three concepts. This is the first concept, the second, and the third, which is here. So the first one is living standards or standards of living. And they refer to the level of material wealth of individuals or groups. So material wealth can be the amount of money or properties or assets. So it's the amount that a person has or that a society has. If you're looking here at the cost of living, is the amount of money needed to buy basic things. So, for example, the cost of living includes house, food, clothing, all the electricity, medical bills. That is the amount of money it costs us to live. And the third variety or variant is the quality of life. So your quality of life is connected with how you feel about the way you live. And they refer to less material aspects of life, such as leisure and culture. So in our world, we have living standards are very high. Our society has a lot of money. The cost of living is also high. And the quality of our life is also high because we spend a lot of money on things that we don't really need. So we have a very high quality of life. So let's think of those three things: living standards, cost of living, quality of life. Here in the pink post-it, you have some vocabulary and some ideas. And I want you to think about, we've got quality of housing, income. Income is the amount of money that comes into our house. Cultural facilities, which could be museums, libraries, healthcare, working hours. Equality of men and women. Life expectancy is the amount of years we are expected to live. So, for example, life expectancy in our country is very high compared to life expectancy in Africa or in other countries. Education, environmental issues, holidays and free time, food, and human. I don't know what else was there, but human something. Doesn't matter. Get rid of the human. Okay, so we've got some concepts there. We've got some vocabulary. If you look here, I've also got two photos now, which you can see. One is a very rich, modern society with very high living standards. And the one at the bottom is, you can see a house which is very poor living standards. The income is probably quite low. All these words in the pink note are concepts which make an influence on our living standards. So if you look at the pink post-it, it says activity. Make sentences with phrases from the pink note. Try and use the present perfect simple or the present perfect progressive. So before doing that, I want you to check out the slide, the next slide. And we're gonna, even though we have done it already, we're just gonna quickly go over present simple perfect and present simple, and present perfect progressive. Okay, so I'm sending you the slides on, so all you have to do is just go to the slides. Present perfect continuous and present perfect simple. Oh, sorry, I think I said present perfect progressive is the same as present perfect continuous. So present perfect continuous is for something that started in the past and is still happening now. So I think that living standards have been rising in most countries over the last few decades. So that is something that is still happening. We look at the next one, the present perfect simple, we focus on a completed action. And it may still continue or it may not, but we don't know. No? So it says living standards have risen in my country over the last decade, but I think they are starting to fall now. So they're not still continuing. And then I have an example linked to the last board. I think the standards of education have been increasing over the last 50 years. So with that sentence, I think the standards of education have been increasing over the last 50 years. You go back, and I want you to make sentences, as it says here, with the phrases from the pink note, using this one here. So, I think the standards of education have been increasing over the last 50 years. So let's make sentences using the present perfect simple or progressive. So I want you to make a sentence using quality of housing, income, cultural facilities, healthcare, working hours. So for example, working hours lately, or let's say in 2020, or in these recent years, working hours have become less. No, they have decreased. Meanwhile, for example, life expectancy in some countries has been rising, and life expectancy in our country, I think, has risen to maybe 82 years old for a male. So let's see if we can make some sentences with these words and phrases and using the verbs. Okay, so that's going to be the task, which I'm going to send on the classroom, but just so you can see what you have to do. Okay, so let's go to the next. As you can see, I've been busy enjoying myself with this jamboard is what it's called. So once you've finished those sentences, I want you to try and make those sentences longer. So your first thing is you might not be able to think of a sentence for each phrase, but if we can do education, housing, income, cost of living, that should be enough. And then what we're going to do is we'll look at linking expressions of contrast, which join clauses when one clause contains an unexpected result of the other clause. So we have words like here, although, even though, despite the fact. I changed that because it's been stuck on top. They can either be used at the beginning or in mid-position. So I've got some here. I love you. This card is lovely. I love you despite the way you load a dishwasher. So that is, even though you're really rubbish at loading a dishwasher, I still love you. And in spite of killer bees. Now that's the name of the book. So here you have in spite of and despite can be followed by a noun or a pronoun or an in clause. Okay, so despite, I love you despite the way you load a dishwasher, and in spite of killer bees. So here you have a pronoun, you. Here you have a noun, killer bees. Or in spite of, let me think of a sentence. In spite of being so untidy, I still love you. Okay? So now, the last task of today is, we've already made our sentence. Our sentence is, you've got it here on the green post-it. In spite the fact that standards of education have been increasing, I think students leaving school write very poorly. So I want you to make your first sentence, I want you to make it a bit longer, adding either at the beginning or at the end. Let's see if you can do maybe 2 or 3 sentences using in spite or the word although, and I want you to try and use the words income, education, living standards, cost of living, because that's all what's happening nowadays, no? We're earning more, but housing is becoming more expensive, the prices of housing are increasing, and despite the fact that we are earning more money, our quality of life isn't increasing because we're earning less. So those are the sort of words I want you to try and use, okay? So I hope that was okay, but if it wasn't, please bear with me. This is just a trial of a recording. When I do my professional recording, I'll put some makeup on, okay? So let's just see if you understood this, and I'll send it on to you. Bye. Bye.